Let's take a look at the dollar. It is down more than 8% for the year to date, just over 8.5%. It's trading near three-year lows. Fears about U.S. imposed tariffs and a possible decline in U.S. exceptionalism are part of the story here.
Breaking news. The world's map is being redrawn, not by war, but by money, trade, and technology. The power that once flowed from Washington and Wall Street is now moving east. And the old world order? It's fading. From Beijing to Dubai, Moscow to Mumbai, a new alliance is forming, one that doesn't answer to the West. It's not an army or a treaty. It's something far more powerful, an economy built without America. Every empire believes its dominance will last forever. The British believed it, the Romans believed it, and now it's America's turn to learn that history has a short memory. For 80 years, the United States shaped the global map, economically, militarily, and culturally. But now, the global center of gravity is shifting from New York to Shanghai, from Silicon Valley to Singapore. This isn't a theory. It's happening right now, as trillions of dollars move away from the U.S. and toward the East. And for the first time in living memory, the West isn't leading, it's reacting. So the question isn't when the map changes. It's whether America is ready for what comes next. Because this isn't just a shift of borders, it's a shift of power, the kind that rewrites history. To understand where the world is going, we need to remember how it got here. After World War II, the United States and its allies rebuilt the global economy in their image. They controlled trade routes, banking systems, and the flow of energy. The world ran on Western rules and Western money. If you wanted security, you turned to Washington. If you wanted prosperity, you traded in dollars. And for nearly 8 decades, that deal held. But like every empire before it, the West mistook dominance for permanence. The U.S. built an empire not of colonies, but of contracts, sanctions, and loans. And for years, it worked, but the cracks began to show. By the early 2000s, the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan drained trillions. China quietly built factories instead of bases. Russia invested in pipelines, not ideology. And the West, distracted by politics, didn't see the shift coming. Today, we're living through the consequences of those choices. The old system of power, military alliances, global finance, and moral authority is collapsing under its own weight. The map drawn by the West is being erased, and a new one, made in the East, is taking its place. The story of the 21st century isn't about America's decline. It's about the East's rise. It began with trade, then technology, and now it's about control. China's Belt and Road Initiative has connected more than 150 nations through ports, roads, and power plants. It's not charity, it's strategy. Every bridge built and every loan granted binds another country to Beijing's orbit. Meanwhile, India has emerged as a technological powerhouse, building its digital economy faster than any Western nation. Russia, though isolated from the West, has redirected its energy eastward, forming new trade networks with China and the Middle East. The result? A new economic bloc, the BRICS alliance, now controls more than half of global production capacity. For the West, it's a nightmare. For the East, it's independence. And the most shocking part? This isn't happening through war or conquest. It's happening through trade agreements, infrastructure, and currency swaps. Every month, more nations line up to join the new map. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Iran, Indonesia, even U.S. allies like France are signing trade deals in yen.
Now the French Prime Minister on a visit in China. He has a different strategy, doesn't he?
Taking a different tack. Edouard Philippe in Beijing, hoping to secure about a dozen business deals in sectors such as aviation, nuclear power, and agriculture.
It's not just a rebellion against the dollar. It's a rejection of the idea that one country or one currency should rule them all. The East isn't rising because it hates the West. It's rising because it no longer needs it. In Washington, this story is discussed in numbers and charts, but for ordinary Americans, it's lived through empty shelves and rising bills. The fall of the dollar isn't an event, it's an experience. Groceries, gas, and rent are climbing. Savings don't stretch as far, and jobs that once paid enough don't. The American worker, once the world's economic engine, is now competing with entire nations for survival. Factories that left for Asia decades ago aren't coming back. And while the U.S. leaders argue about culture wars, foreign powers are winning the economic ones. Every time the dollar weakens, America's influence shrinks, and its people feel it first. From Detroit to Dallas, small businesses are collapsing under debt. Middle-class families are sliding toward poverty, and the promise that hard work equals success is fading. Trump supporters feel it. So do his critics. Because this isn't about politics, it's about power. And when that power moves overseas, the American dream moves with it. The East Rise isn't just a geopolitical story, it's a mirror. One showing a nation distracted by division, while the rest of the world builds a future without it. Every generation rewrites the world map, and this one is doing it with economics, not armies. China is leading with infrastructure and innovation, India with software and youth, Russia with energy, the Middle East with oil and logistics. Together, they form a new gravity center, stretching from the Pacific to the Persian Gulf. This isn't the fall of the West, it's the rebalancing of the world. For the first time in history, global growth is no longer dictated by the US or Europe. It's being driven by the East. America's leaders still speak of superpower competition, but the truth is simpler. It's no longer a competition if one side no longer needs to play by your rules. Trump called it before anyone else. He said, "We're losing control of the world," and the markets are starting to agree. The East isn't asking for permission. It's building the future on its own terms, and that future doesn't have America at the center anymore. Behind closed doors in Washington, the mood is shifting from denial to fear. The Pentagon calls emergency briefings. The Federal Reserve warns of global instability. And in the Oval Office, aides whisper what no one dares to say out loud. America's power is slipping away. For decades, the U.S. dictated the rules of global trade, and the world obeyed. But now, even its allies are breaking ranks. Europe is hedging. Japan is negotiating, and Canada, once America's quiet partner, is diversifying its energy deals with BRICS nations. Washington's old tools don't work anymore. Sanctions, interest rate hikes, political speeches, they used to intimidate. Now, they irritate. When Russia was sanctioned, it survived. When China was threatened, it expanded. When oil was weaponized, the East turned it into opportunity. Inside G7 meetings, leaders talk of maintaining unity. But unity without leverage is just noise. Europe's industries are collapsing under high energy costs. U.S. companies are moving production abroad. And for the first time, global investors are shifting their savings into non-dollar assets, gold, yen, and digital trade systems. The message is clear. The world is preparing for a future where America isn't in charge. Trump warned about this years ago. He said, "We're losing control because we've stopped making things. Factories replaced with financial speculation, innovation replaced by politics, and now the bill for those decisions is coming due." Behind the polished speeches and patriotic slogans, there's panic. Because when you lose financial dominance, you lose everything that depends on it. Your military reach, your diplomatic influence, your global voice. The West still has power, but it no longer has the monopoly. And in the game of global influence, that's the difference between leading and following. Then came the leak. A confidential document circulating among financial ministries revealed something the U.S. feared most. A new BRICS-backed energy currency was being tested in secret, backed by gold, oil, and real assets, not debt. If successful, it would erase nearly $7 trillion in annual demand for the US dollar overnight. That's not a slowdown, that's a reset. Washington called it disinformation, but the markets reacted instantly. Gold surged, the dollar fell, and countries from the Middle East to Africa began asking the same question: what happens when the world stops needing America's money? Because that's what's really at stake here. Not just economics, but trust. The dollar was powerful because people believed in it. Now, that belief is fading. Trump once compared America's dominance to the British empires, and the comparison is hauntingly accurate. When the pound fell after World War II, so did Britain's global influence. Its empire dissolved, its currency became a relic, and its history was rewritten by others. Now, the same pattern is repeating, only this time, the empire has aircraft carriers, satellites, and Silicon Valley. The unthinkable is happening quietly. Nations are settling oil contracts without touching the dollar. Central banks are stockpiling gold instead of U.S. bonds. And new digital systems built in Shanghai, Dubai, and Mumbai are linking entire continents without a single American intermediary. This isn't rebellion, it's evolution. And Washington can't stop it because the world doesn't need permission anymore. When Trump said, "We're losing control of the world," many laughed. But today, it's not a warning, it's a headline. The fall of U.S. dominance isn't a catastrophe. It's a transition, one that every empire eventually faces. The question is not whether America falls, it's whether it adapts. For 80 years, Washington's strength came from one illusion, that it controlled the flow of global money. But today, money flows where trust exists, and the world's trust is diversifying. China builds infrastructure, India builds technology, the Middle East builds energy corridors, and the U.S., it builds debt. The New World Order won't have a single capital. It will have many: Beijing, Riyadh, Delhi, Moscow, and yes, still Washington. But America will be one player among equals, not the referee. Trump's warning wasn't just political rhetoric. It was the echo of history. The moment an empire realizes it's no longer alone at the top. Because power isn't taken overnight. It's abandoned piece by piece through arrogance and inaction. The U.S. can still lead, but not by force, by example, by rebuilding what it made strong in the first place: production, innovation, and belief in itself. The New World Map isn't about borders or flags, it's about influence. And that influence is moving east faster than Washington can react. For the first time since 1945, the United States stands at a crossroads: rebuild or retreat. Because when the world stops buying your money, it stops buying your story. And in the quiet of history's turning page, the world is already writing the next chapter. This isn't the end of America. It's the end of American control. Subscribe and stay alert, because the next revolution won't be televised. It'll be global.